Hey, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica Taylor Barry, and I am the founder of Freedom in the Slow Lane and the Decision Architecture. I am building an advisory business on the side, and I am still working full time. So if you are working a 9 to 5 and building something on the side, you are in the right place, okay? This is my third week of recording a video every Sunday documenting what has happened in my business for the prior week. So just to give you just a super quick background, I have been working my advisory business for about 3 months or so. And when I say working the business, I mean actively reaching out, making connections on social media, being more consistent on social media, and all the things, right? Having the conversations, building the relationships, stuff like that. So over the past 3 months or so, really going into the 4th month since today is April 5th, really just, again, documenting the process. And this is what I call the messy middle, because again, a lot of times what we see online is people that say, hey, you can build a business while you're working your 9 to 5, and you see them go from burnt out in their 9 to 5 job, and then they're like super happy, right? But nobody ever talks about what happens in the messy middle. And that's really what this series is about. And that's really what this channel is going to be about, is documenting that journey of growing a business while still being full-time employed, okay? So again, this is the third week of me documenting this. Last week, what I actually mentioned was that I had actually got my first yes. So again, I have sent, at this point, close to 600 messages to people, warm-ish outreach to people on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok, right? I have reached out to different people on various, platforms, social media platforms. And, again, almost close to 600 messages. And earlier this week, I actually got my first yes. Yes. Got my first yes, y'all. And they actually had given me the yes last Saturday. And I think I had told y'all that, but they actually paid on April 1st. It was not an April Fool's joke. Like, I got the money, they signed the contract, everything is in place, okay? So it was not April Fool's, but I did get my first paid client on April 1st, 2026. And so I did want to just share that good news with y'all. So again, this week, my outreach looked a lot different. I was usually trying to reach out to between 60 and 100 people every single week. That's just not it, right? Because again, if I have to reach out to 600 people to get one paying client, like that is not scalable at all. I'm not going to be able to do that long term. I'll get burnt out way before I make any really good money. So this past week, what I actually did was I only reached out to about 10 people. So had 10 conversations with people, and I actually got a better response rate. I actually got about 4 people to respond back to me, which is a 40% response rate. Which is way better than the response rate that I ever got from reaching out to 60 to 100 people each week. So already that was a really big plus. And actually, the person who said yes this week, I'd actually been talking to them before, and so this was not like a warmish or a new conversation this week. This was a conversation that had been going on for a while. So again, warmed them up, had built that trust, and they finally said yes. And then I actually have one person who is actually thinking about it. So again, that is another really good win this week as well. I do like people who say, hey, give me a week and let me think about it, because it actually gives me a good turnaround time to actually follow up with them. But I also got a rejection this week. So again, I had been talking to this other potential client, and this week she came back and said, hey, I'm just not going to be able to commit. Like, thank you for thinking of me. Like, I really think this is going to be good, but I'm just not ready to commit, right? And every rejection hurts. I mean, I got that rejection, I think the same day I got the yes. So it was kind of like a double whammy. And it equally hurts, right? Just because I got the yes does not make the rejection any softer. Like, it still hurt. And so again, the biggest part of this process of owning my own business and running my advisory practice and building those relationships and actually being like a salesperson, like pitching my services to people, is that they will say no, right? And I know Myron Golden is another person that I follow very heavily on all social media platforms that I can. And one of the things he said last week made perfect sense. And I was like, yes, I'm going to start implementing that right away, because it cuts down on 99% of like the anxiety, the noise, the waiting, all of that. And what he said was, when you pitch something to someone or offer your services to someone, he said, tell me yes or tell me no, but tell me now, I have to go. Right. And he also said that some people will wait on the forever maybe in hopes that they will one day say yes to avoid them ever saying no. And I was just like, listen, tell me yes, tell me no, tell me now, I have to go. Like, just go ahead and tell me and get it out of the way so that I can move on. Right. I don't have to keep following up with you and sending you messages and trying to see if you're interested. Like, if you want it, just let me know. If you don't, let me know that too, so I can move on with my life. So I'll definitely be implementing that this week. The 10 outreaches actually worked really well this week. Again, they were very targeted and very specific. Again, people that were almost perfect, my ideal avatar, my perfect client. So I'm going to try that same strategy this week. I'm also going to be more consistent posting on LinkedIn because I've usually just been a lot more consistent on Instagram and Facebook right now. So I do believe in my heart of heart, like, my actual ideal avatar, my ideal client is on LinkedIn, right? Not to say they aren't on Instagram, but I feel like my ideal avatar is scrolling LinkedIn, right? They're not scrolling Facebook or Instagram, they're scrolling LinkedIn. And so I think I'm going to change my strategy up a little bit to kind of still post on Instagram and Facebook, but make that very secondary, where LinkedIn is kind of secondary now. Is more, I want to lean more towards LinkedIn as being like my first priority platform, and then repurposing content for Instagram and Facebook. Again, I want to be where my ideal clients are. And I do feel like there's a lot of noise right now on LinkedIn, especially with corporate and higher level executive women who are going through being stuck with career decisions and things like that. So I'm definitely thinking about just shifting my priority over there, posting every day, being more consistent over there, having much higher engagement levels over there. Not to the point with paid ads or anything like that yet, but again, just kind of establishing that awareness and that trust and that, that brand recognition that I've already started to build on Instagram and Facebook. So that's what this week will look like. Again, I have one person that is thinking about it, so I'm definitely hoping when I follow up this week that they've made a decision. But again, every no that I get, I know just puts me closer to that yes. And I also think it's very, very important. Like, if you all don't listen to anything I say, do not be afraid to change your strategy. That is the one thing that I am continuing to learn almost on a weekly basis, right? You test some things, you see if it works, and then if it doesn't, you change your strategy. I'm not saying change your strategy every single day. I don't change my strategy every single day because I do believe you have to test things. You have to figure out what is working, and you have to be able to track stuff. For the love of God, please start tracking your metrics when it comes to your content, how well it's performing across your social media platforms, how much engagement you're getting, how many leads you're getting, all those types of things, right? And that is why I built my cue card system as well, so that I can track my leads and make sure that I have them in an organized fashion. So then when I do go back to follow with them, I know exactly where the conversation is, where I need to pick up at, and what the next step needs to be. So if you are interested in learning more about the custom the custom system that I built, definitely reach out and let me know. I think the link is in the description. But yeah, don't be afraid to change your strategy. Again, if it's not working, you don't want to beat a dead horse, right? And you don't want to pour fuel on something that is already not working. So every couple of weeks, take a step back, look at your metrics, see what's working, see what didn't, and try to tailor your strategy more towards the things that are working, okay? Social media is always changing. The market is always changing. Even your ideal avatar could change from time to time, depending on the services that you're offering and the point in time that we're in. So don't be afraid to kind of modify that a little bit to make sure that you get to your ideal results that you want to get to. So that'll be my strategy this week. I'm going to do a really deep dive on my metrics, on my social media posting, my email subscribers, like all that this week. I'm going to do a super deep dive on that and document everything to see what actually worked well, what flopped, what didn't, all that good stuff. And then I'm going to over-index on what worked well. What types of posts worked well? Was it a B-roll? Was it a carousel? Was it a talking head? Going in depth with that to see what worked for my audience that week or that month. And then again, focusing all my energy there. So that is what I'm going to be doing this week. I think I'm going to keep my outreach to the same, to about 10 people or so, and still try to start making those meaningful connections, and still working on, building those relationships, building awareness. And what I've also found is, like, every post that I do does not actually have to have a CTA or a call to action, which means, like, every post doesn't have to end with, hey, DM me or see the link in the comments or something like that, right? Because it used to be that information was the thing that people were lacking, and now it's almost too much information, right? And so again, just making sure to provide as much free content as I absolutely can without actually having people always having to do something, right? Not always asking them to do something at the end of every single post. So that's going to be my strategy this week. I would love to know, if you are building a business and working full time, what your social media content strategy is, what your outreach strategy is, how you're tracking your leads, how you're getting your leads. Like, I want to know all the things, okay? I don't want y'all just to come and listen to me talk and then move on with your life. Like, I want us to learn from each other, and I want to be a part of your journey just as much as you are a part of mine, okay? So again, if you're working a full-time job and you are building a business on the side with the hopes of leaving that full-time job one day, you are in the right place. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And that's my video for this week, y'all. It is Resurrection Sunday, so if you do celebrate, happy Resurrection Sunday to you. And I will see you all on my next video next Sunday. Have a good one. Bye.